Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. We got a lot to discuss in this morning's video, and the first thing we'll talk about is what potentially could happen going forward. There's a storm system we are watching for next work week. This could bring some winter weather. It could bring a severe weather risk, even though right now I don't think that's going to be a big storyline. But I would say the bigger storyline is a lot of rain for a lot of people. In some areas that's seen a lot of snow over the last 10 to 15 days could actually see rain with this storm system, even rain before this storm system. But this could also bring some high winds for certain areas of the eastern U.S. So we're going to break this storm system down and, of course, continue to try to figure it out going forward. And we'll talk about a cool down that will come behind it. I do think this is fleeting, and then we'll speak on after this storm system, as I am expecting a big warm up across the entire lower 48. Now, when I say big, I'm not talking about a full-on blowtorch, meaning we're going to get into the 70s and 80s for a large area of the country. But I do think we'll enter a warmer pattern for the middle portion of the month. But I will take a peek on what could potentially happen as we get closer to, say, Christmas time. So we'll speak on that. We'll break it all down. Then, of course, I got you covered as far as what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your day. And we'll have a full breakdown of this clipper that's going to move across New England over the weekend. And we'll really break down in detail the snowfall expected per the National Weather Service. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. I got a prayer request I'll talk about at the very end of the video if you guys want to stay tuned for that. But sorry about these videos coming out so late on the weekends. One, I struggle with the videos on the weekends, and I'm not sure why. It just takes me about 20-25 minutes to really get going. I have to restart them 100 times. Not sure why it always happens on the weekends. And then two, I sleep in a little bit on the weekends for obvious reasons. You want to get an extra hour or two of sleep. So my routine gets kind of pushed forward about an hour or so. So sorry about that. We'll try to fix that going forward. But let's get rocking and rolling. So we're going to start off by talking about what could potentially happen with this storm system next week. So we'll look at the GFS first. I'm going to start all this off for this Sunday now, here in the next couple days. So this is Sunday evening. We got rain pushing up from the south, a little bit of northern stream energy up here. Oops, sorry about that. And we'll keep this going here. If we can get this in motion, we'll get this going here, and we're getting into Monday morning. So Monday morning, we're going to actually wake up to a lot of rain for a good chunk of the eastern U.S. I mean, stretching maybe from like lower Michigan all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We got rain moving across the Appalachian Mountains into the Carolinas. And this is just rain, good old-fashioned rain. Nothing wintry about this at all. And we keep this going all the way into Monday evening. Now, I do think this will run into a little bit of cold air with this high pressure still up here in Atlantic Canada. So this will be more of a wintry mix or wintry mess up here in Vermont, New Hampshire, northern sections of New York. Now, there is a system moving in this weekend that will break down more in today's forecast portion of the video. So if you're wondering, Mitch, why are you skipping this weekend's weather maker for the Northeast? I got you covered in today's forecast. I'm going to break it all down. But we continue to move forward. This is kind of our first push of moisture. And folks, this could turn into, I wouldn't say a large winter weather event for Maine, but it could dump accumulating snow across Maine Monday night into Tuesday morning. So that moves forward. And then we have a trough that digs down across the middle of the country. With it, we got a lot of energy out ahead of this jet stream digging down, and we get a lot of moisture out ahead of it. This is like 95% rain, though. So this is getting into Tuesday evening, December the 10th. We got rain from the deep south all the way up to Lake Erie. So it's raining on top of the snowpack, and like in Erie, up to Buffalo, up to Watertown. This is rain. Okay, might be a little severe weather down here. We got little pieces of energy kind of riding this trough and this right ahead of this cold front. And we keep this going. We get into Wednesday morning. This is all rain for the eastern seaboard states. I mean, all the way up into southern New England. It's raining even like up into the Adirondacks Wednesday morning. Okay, but there is cold air to follow. You see the 540 line, and we keep this going. At the very end, kind of the backside of the precipitation, the cold air will try to catch up and switch this rain to maybe snow or a wintry mix. You see it's snowing now in the blue in West Virginia, and this is for like Wednesday midday, Wednesday afternoon. We got lake effect snow popping off once again across the Great Lakes region because of the cold air moving over the body of water, which is the Great Lakes, is still relatively warm, has not froze over. So if it's not, of course, it typically doesn't freeze over, I would say, in early December. But if it's not froze over, the lake effect snow is still game on, right? So you keep going, and we get into Wednesday afternoon, and we get into Wednesday evening. And this is where we can have a low pressure that really tries to deepen as this tries to phase kind of Wednesday. Phase with the northern stream and the southern stream. We'll talk more about that here in a second. It takes on more of a negative tilt, which means you have a strengthening storm system. Therefore, you get a deepening low off the coast of southern New England and the Northeast. So this could bring stronger winds. It could bring heavier precipitation. On the cold side of this would be maybe heavy snow in the interior, mid-Atlantic, and Northeast areas. This is just a wind-driven rain along the I-95 corridor. But you keep this going, and this turns into a really heavy snowmaker maybe for the interior New England, Northeast areas. Even as far east as maybe the Berkshires and some of the hill regions of southern New England. Worcester Hills. But you keep going here, and this could turn into a bigger system for Atlantic Canada. I'll show you guys your area here in a second. But look at the lake effect snows shooting through, shot of cold air behind it, and then, of course, we don't know what's going to happen after that. We'll talk more on that when we need to. Okay, what about the Euro? It's not much different, guys. A lot of rain moving in the early portion of next week. This is Monday. This is getting into Monday night and Tuesday. Does show some heavy snow in the favorite areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And then here comes our system associated with this trough digging down. We start to get into Tuesday evening. You are starting to get some rain switching to snow in Ohio, southeastern areas of Indiana. All rain for the southeast. All rain for the northeast. Cold air trying to catch up with this. Rain switching to snow across Ohio. There's all the lake effect snow. And I do think we're going to get some snow showers. Probably as far south as maybe Missouri. Heck, maybe even Kentucky and Tennessee. Associated with the actual energy with the lower pressure of this trough. And this is just a lot of rain across the eastern seaboard states. I mean, just from Florida all the way up to Maine, this is mainly rain. And look at this 998 millibar low over the Delmarva. This is going to bring high winds, wind-driven rain, and the cold air will try to catch up with this. It'll really just turn into a frontal system. Cold air chasing moisture, and this rain abruptly switches to snow, and we're going to get some northwest flow snow, probably as far south as, I would say, the Smokies, even though it's not really showing up. I think it will happen. Aggressive lake effect snow event. I just don't think this is going to last a super long time as cold air begins to take over at the end of next week. But I do think this is going to kickstart the lake effect snow. So, you're going to get a big rainmaker across these areas, but then you're going to pack on the snow once again right behind it. I do want to show my friends up here in Atlantic Canada. We get in early next week. We get into Tuesday morning. Here comes some snow for New Brunswick. I think this is mainly rain for Nova Scotia. Maybe some a wintry mix with a low pressure bringing that warm air just above the surface. And then this moves in. Here comes our bigger system. So this is Wednesday afternoon, just a big rain bomb across Atlantic Canada. Okay, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island. Always forget the other island. But anyways, both of these islands, it's a lot of rain. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, already said those. This is all rain. I mean, rain way up here, all the way in the northern sections of eastern Canada. And then the system swings in and through, and then cold air comes through. And the reason I'm showing this for you guys is because I think this could be a wind-driven rain event. So we have to watch out for high winds with this storm system as it does get a little bit more aggressive, takes on more of a strengthening storm system signal, negative tilt as it gets further north and east. So as far as rainfall, folks, between now and the next 7 days, I mean, from southeast Louisiana, 2-3 inches of rain in southern sections of Mississippi, areas of Alabama, 2 to 3 inches of rain, into Georgia, 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of rain, all the way into, South Carolina, for example. A lot of areas of the Carolinas, Georgia, have not seen a lot of rain. There's a lot of areas that has gotten quite dry. We've had these Arctic air masses come through, and for a lot of folks east of the Alps and south, this has been dry cold front. So it's starting to get dry again, but I do think there's going to be a couple rounds of heavy rain that moves all the way up through here. So if you live in this purple area from Columbia, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, all the way up to Washington, D.C., to Delmarva, Richmond, and then, of course, a lot more rain potentially could fall for southern New England, 2-3 inches of rain. And then the down east areas of Maine. This could be some snow. This is not going to be all rain for the interior sections right here. But as you can tell, you zoom out, you can tell where all the precipitation is going to be, right? So, there is going to be a chance for excessive rainfall. Let's take it to day 2. There it is, emerging down here, a slight risk, 15% risk in the yellow area of rainfall exceeding flash flooding guidance. And then we look at day 3, starts to move into this area. This is starting to get into Monday. And then we look beyond this at day 4. Okay, this is getting into Tuesday, I believe. Excuse me. And areas of southern Alabama. That clearing my throat did absolutely nothing, so I might have to do it again here in a second. But central Georgia into like Augusta, Aiken, slight risk of excessive rainfall. And then we look at day 5, and not as big of a deal. This really shifts for the Northeast. We have to watch from excessive rainfall about midway next week. So, but as far as that snowfall signal, okay, this is what we're a little bit less confident in. This is a 24-hour period, so you're going to see snow come up on your screen, then it's going to disappear, right? So we keep going, and here's the GFS ensemble from this morning. It does show a signal kind of starting to show up for a few tenths of an inch of snow across the Ohio Valley back to the southern Midwest area. And then it increases for the southern to central apps as we're getting into Wednesday afternoon. The interior, Northeast, and New England areas, it starts to show a few inch snowfall mean. And of course, the Great Lakes area, you start to see flashes of the favorable snow belt region show up here. And I mean, you do start to get a bit of like a half a foot snowfall mean up here in certain sections of like northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire. So this tells me that there is some ensemble runs that's showing a more sizable winter weather event up here in the Northeast. And I do think a few inches of snow could fall as far south as the North Carolina, Tennessee mountains with this. It's very possible, and then that signal heads on out. What about the Euro ensemble? Here it is. The signal grows across areas of the Ohio Valley. As we're getting into Wednesday and Thursday, we're getting a Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. And, just a little bit of a signal for really just, this looks like central apps to favorable higher terrain areas of PA. Same thing with New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. Just the favorable higher elevations. I-95 corridor. This does not look like some type of significant winter storm whatsoever. So just to break that, to kind of sum that up, I would say just your typical areas are going to get snow from this that typically get it this time of the year. It's pretty much what it looks like. Now, something that we were watching is the winds. The winds with this could be significant. So as we're moving forward here, we're getting into Wednesday, next Wednesday. This is the Euro. This is wind gusts. We're getting 30, 35 mile per hour wind gusts. We're getting down to areas of the southern apps, the higher elevations of North Carolina, 40, 45, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. The Cumberland Plateau gusting to some 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. But what I really want you to watch here is, let's look at New England here. Look at these higher wind gusts that come up into southern New England as we're getting into Wednesday. We have in kind of the Cape Cod area, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, we're getting 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts based off the Euro. And all the way into the coastal regions of Maine and then down east areas of Maine as we're getting into Wednesday night, get hurricane force wind gusts according to the latest Euro. 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And then, of course, I do want to show you my folks here in Atlantic Canada. Let's go down here, Nova Scotia, and I think y'all go off, kilometers per hour, I believe. And we'll look up here, and we'll just kind of look at wind gusts, maximum wind gust swath. And, they're going for, in New Brunswick, the western sections of Nova Scotia, 90 to as much as 110 kilometer per hour wind gusts. So this could be a significant wind maker for you folks. So we'll continue to figure that one out. But why does this have the potential to become a stronger system as it gets closer to the Northeast? Well, this is, I do not have it up. I don't have it up. That stinks. You know what? We're going to pull it up on the fly. You get to see my beautiful backdrop here. Let's see. Let's get up my Epic Pen. I haven't done this in a while. I haven't forgotten to pull this up in a while. And we'll pull this back up if it would work for me. Here we go. Back rolling. So I'm going to draw on this a little bit. All right, so we got black. That's good. This is our northern stream energy. This is our southern stream energy. What we watch for, do these kind of come together somewhere into here? All right, so right now, and this is for next Tuesday evening, this thing is taking on more of a positive tilt. Okay, that means it's a weaker storm system. That doesn't necessarily mean it stays weak, but watch what happens. Continue to move forward here. It begins to tilt a little bit. You see how it tilts, and now it's kind of going straight down. That's more of a neutral tilt. So it's went from positive to neutral, which means it's beginning to get stronger. Okay, so the storm system begins to take on a negative tilt here. And this is getting into Wednesday evening. So it's tilting like this now. So this is telling me we're probably going to get some sort of strong low pressure into this area, and it's just telling me that we're going to get a lot of high winds with this, regardless if this is mainly rain or mainly snow across the northeast. And then it continues to chug on along. And, you know, with this, you're going to get a shot of cold air also. I just think this is fleeting. I really do. So, you know, we start this Tuesday evening. Here comes a cold air mass dropping down. The greens is like 10 to 15 degrees below average, whatever your average temperatures are, low or high this time of the year. This shot of cold air, which could be pretty cold across the northern terrain of the country, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, moves in the eastern sections of the country. You know, next Thursday will be another chilly day. Wednesday into Thursday, getting into even Friday, it's chilly across the eastern U.S., but I really don't think this lasts very long. In fact, by the time we start to get to the end of next weekend, we start to see a warming trend. Now, why does this warming trend show up? I'll show you that here in a second, but I want to note, don't let anybody fool you. I do not think we're going to enter a blowtorch pattern. One thing that nags the mess out of me on social media is people tweeting and posting Merry Torchmas. It's such a buzzkill. The reality of it is, you know, it could very well be warm on Christmas, but man, just some people saying Merry Torchmas, which means they're calling for above average temperatures around Christmas, which, by the way, absolutely stinks. I'm sure warm weather fans would disagree, but it is not supposed to be warm around the holidays. I have no idea why people go to Florida for Christmas time. I mean, but anyways, we'll go into that a different day. But it does look like, and this is from the 14th through the 20th of December, middle portion of this month. And listen, a lot of things pointed to this even a couple weeks back. But we look like we're going to have a mid-month warm-up, which honestly, I mean, I'll take it. I mean, it's been very, very cold, but the confidence in this is pretty high. And this looks like for almost the entirety of the entire lower 48 also. I mean, southwest, maybe average temperatures, but I mean, this shade of like brick red right here, I mean, this is like a 70% chance of temperatures being above normal in this time frame. So it does look like we're going to enter a warmer pattern. I just don't think this is going to stick around. In fact, you look at the 3 to 4 week outlook, and hear me out, I don't like to talk so much into the future, but I do think the experts in the National Weather Service, the Climate Prediction Center, they are starting to see what I think people like me and many others are starting to see, and that is the potential for a late December, whether that starts around the holidays or around Christmas, I would say, or if it starts, you know, closer to New Year's. They are starting to, I think, see the potential for maybe a flip back to colder at the end of the month, beginning of January. Now, it's hard to speak too much on that because it's still, December 7th, I believe. But they are saying, hey, a chance of around average temperatures, or one way or the other. Normally, we don't have any color in this area. That tells us that, hey, it could be one way or the other. They are leaning towards above average temperatures out west, and I wouldn't be so hyper-focused on Maine. It is something interesting with this. So, watching that, and, you know, you look at the pattern here, what you're looking at here in the warmer colors like, you know, the yellows, the oranges, and the reds, it's a ridge of high pressure or ridging. And then the blues, and this shade of bluish yellow right here, that is a lower pressure, a trough, typically with colder than average temperatures, stormier conditions, and then the warmer colors, more stable conditions, warmer than average temperatures. So what you'll see here is going forward, this area in blue going across the central and eastern U.S. That is the storm system we just broke down, guys. The one we just broke down. So this kind of drops down into next Wednesday, into Thursday, and watch how it just swings through and then swings out. It's done. There's nothing really anchoring this in place. Okay? For people that are saying, Mitch, why can't we ever have a sustained cold pattern? Well, we just did. We literally just did from like November 20th through like now. And then we're going to get another cold shot of air like next week. So that's a pretty long, I would say much longer than average shot of cold air across the eastern U.S. The thing that prevented us from getting a significant winter storm outside the lake effect snow areas was, and maybe the interior Northeast, was the fact that our southern stream was not active. So that's why we didn't get any kind of freak early season winter storm across areas, etc. And we did see snow down as far south as like northern Alabama, Nashville, Kentucky. But anyways, moving forward here, the reason above average temperatures look dominant across the entire lower 48 getting into the middle portion of this month is, we're starting to get to the morning of the 15th. This is getting kind of far out, over a week. We just got this persistent ridging, this zonal pattern basically over the entire lower 48. We do have a little storm signal right here in the blue, but the pattern is really zonal. I'm going to kind of draw on this. There's no significant dips in the jet stream like this. There's a little dip up here. It's mainly just flat, or kind of just flat like this. There's no dips in the jet. There's no significant cold fronts. There's just nothing. It's more of just a stagnant pattern. There's also not a dominant ridge necessarily either. But you keep going forward here, and we get past day 10. I know that's kind of far out. You start to see some changes. It's nothing crazy, but you start to see more of a look for a positive PNA pattern, which is a ridge out west. And then you see kind of the average mean of the jet right here, and it's kind of coming down like this. So we watch that as we're starting to get closer to the 19th and the 20th of this month. And then you start to lose kind of the warmer colors, and you start to see the white here, and we start to see this blue show up. So this is telling me that and this is far out, and this will likely change a little bit, but we're starting to get into the last Saturday before Christmas, the 21st, and there's a little bit of a signal for some troughing in the eastern U.S. and a big spiking ridge out west, and that could introduce a stormy and colder pattern just in time for the holidays. Some people would view that as a good thing, some people a bad thing. But, if you look at the GFS ensemble, it kind of shows the same thing. In fact, that's a pretty loud signal for some type of storm system pretty far out. But I wouldn't say loud because it's so far out. But it's crazy that the Euro ensemble and the GFS ensemble agree. And we'll look at the Canadian, and it's not as is supporting those other two. It's not as good, but still, we'll continue to watch this. As far as what could happen today, this is what's happening right now. The ridge is already kind of flexing across this area, so most of the energy is kind of going way up here and then down here, but we got some southern stream energy getting going in the form of some rain showers across Texas, Louisiana. That is not freezing rain in Alabama, I don't think, but let me know. But we already have some snow moving into the interior northeast areas. We got just this band of winter precipitation moving across the Great Lakes region. So that's what's going on right now. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We got winter weather advisories, winter storm watches up here for northeast Minnesota. So winter weather advisories up here for the eastern half of the UP. Winter storm warnings up for areas off the eastern end of Ontario, Lake Ontario. We got winter weather advisories east of that. We got lake effect snow warnings south of Buffalo. Just some freeze watches and warning special weather statements down here in the southeast. And then we do have a winter weather event that's going to emerge for the Cascades and the Northern Rockies over here. So as far as a risk of excessive rainfall today, not seeing it. The risk of thunderstorms, though, I believe is possible. I forgot, I hadn't even looked at this yet. Yeah, there is a risk of some thunderstorms across Texas today and maybe a little small portion of Oklahoma and west Arkansas and like Shreveport, Louisiana. So as far as the southeast today, still another chilly day. The further west you get, the warmer it gets, the more moist it gets, and we could have some rain starting to enter southern Arkansas, Louisiana, and this rain could make it all the way into Mississippi, maybe all the way into Memphis by the time we get into Sunday morning. And then Sunday morning, we're waking up to some rain showers in the northern half of Mississippi and Alabama. But as far as anywhere else today, it's a very cold morning this morning. It won't be near as cold tomorrow morning, though. The Northeast, not a very active morning, but that'll change this afternoon. You'll start to get a very festive, snowy afternoon that begins to emerge across areas of western New York. Buffalo will start to get some snowfall, the Tuckahoe Plateau, Watertown, Syracuse, it'll begin to snow. The snow will begin to move into Vermont this evening, snowing across the Adirondacks. And this is when it gets interesting. Is the southern extent of this precipitation going to make it all the way down to New York? I think it's very possible, but I do think it's a lot more likely once you get into southern New England. We can get some snow flying around in Boston, down to Hartford, Rhode Island, snow all the way down for the southern areas of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. Everybody's seeing snow later this evening. Be a nice night just to kind of watch a Hallmark movie, watch a Christmas movie in the interior New England area. Not a sizable event, a huge event, but it will add a few to maybe several inches of snow. And then the snow, by the time we're getting into after midnight, the wee hours in the morning, will continue to fall across Vermont, New Hampshire, even Boston. I think this could be an overachiever for southern New England. We just need to watch. But waking up tomorrow morning, and it's finally snowing in the down east areas of Maine. I've heard a couple people in the comments in the down east areas of Maine saying, when is it going to snow here? I think this one does bring a little bit of snowfall accumulation for you folks. And then we're done with it by the time we get to the end of our weekend. But let's break down how much snow we could get. This will actually be an event where the down east areas of Maine beat the northern areas of Maine. Caribou, 2 to 3 inches. You get down to Lincoln, Maine, though, 3 to 4. Eastport, 2 to 3. Bar Harbor, 2 to 3. Ellsworth, 3 to 4. Bangor, 3 to 4 inches of snow. So, a little bit further south and west, Auburn, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Augusta, 2 to 3. The general theme across Maine is 2 to 3, 4 inches of snow. But we get over to New Hampshire, 2 to 3 inches in Plymouth. Manchester, 1 to 2. Concord, 1 to 2. Portsmouth, 2 inches of snow. Sanford, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Portland, 2 to 3. Lebanon, 2 to 3. Claremont, 2 to 3. Colebrook, 3 to 4. Berlin, 2 to 3. Could get 4 to 6 in Littleton. And then we head on down to southern New England. Boston going for an inch of snow, but this could overachieve for Boston. I could see a little bit more. Fitchburg, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Lawrence, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Pittsfield in western Mass, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Hartford, half an inch. Could be more. Providence, around a half inch. Could be more. So, some of these areas could overachieve. We'll watch what happens. And then we head a little bit back north and west. The Adirondacks, good for anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow, I would say. Stowe, 4 to 5 inches of snow. Montpelier, 2 to 3 inches of snow. Rutland, 3. Manchester, 4 to 5 inches. Brattlesboro, 1 to 2. Bennington, 2 to 3. Some of these areas could overachieve, guys. I wouldn't look at these and hear me or whatever and immediately think to yourself, that's exactly how much snow we're going to get. Some of these areas could overachieve. Watertown, going for around 5 inches of snow. Syracuse, about an inch. Could be more. The Tuckahoe Plateau could get several inches of snow. Somebody could squeeze in 8 to maybe 10, 12 inches of snow. Buffalo, going for about an inch. Binghamton, inch or less. So we'll see what happens with that. But, just taking a look at this system for areas of New Brunswick. And I think you guys go off centimeters. So I think several centimeters of snow is possible for New Brunswick in this system. If you live in southern areas of New Brunswick, maybe around 10 to 11 centimeters of snow is possible. And you kind of get the interior areas of Nova Scotia, points inland north. Same thing. Several centimeters of snow is possible. So definitely stick to your local people for that. But I did want to throw you guys a bone here. But the south central U.S., just thunderstorms, and mainly just scattered rain showers across central and eastern areas of Texas. And then this energy will make it all the way into southwest Arkansas, southern Oklahoma, even areas of Louisiana later on tonight. And then we'll wake up tomorrow morning and we'll probably do it all over again. So a little bit of rain. That's been really the only action across the south central U.S. Most of Oklahoma has been quiet. Kansas has been quiet. Missouri has been quiet for about a week now. North central U.S. will continue to get this band of precipitation, this clipper, that's really just going to impact the eastern half of the UP and northern lower Michigan. This will move in, then move out. It'll get a little quieter. And then we'll watch another system that will begin to move in later tomorrow morning. This could bring some freezing rain and maybe a little bit just of a wintering mix as just the ridge begins to move in, bringing warm air aloft across northern sections of Minnesota. Could definitely get some ice accumulations from this. A few tenths of an inch of ice is possible. Probably a tenth, probably not a quarter inch or anything like that. But we'll see what happens. We'll break that down more when we need to. Western U.S., raining this morning across the Pacific Northwest. Higher elevations of the Cascades, the Rockies. This will be snow. This is not a very cold system. It's a pretty warm system. But this energy will begin to overspread across Idaho, western Montana, in the form of the lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow. And then we'll wake up tomorrow morning to just scattered precipitation across the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest. So a little bit more action starting to move into the western U.S., but still not a big deal. Snowfall, it'll add up in feet over the weekend across the Cascades, the Olympic Mountains, and then looking at the Rockies as a whole, you'll start to get that base back a little bit across the northern Rockies here of Montana, Idaho, and even a little bit of snow between now and Monday morning across Yellowstone National Park. Temperatures, another cold day across the eastern U.S., nothing comparable to the last couple of days. We're starting to warm up across the middle of the country to the 50s and 60s, even a chilly day for Florida. This will be a chilly rain across areas of Texas today, just 50s and maybe even just stuck in the 40s down here. It tells you if we could just merge the northern and southern stream a little bit quicker, we could have got a winter storm across areas further south in the eastern U.S., but it takes two to tango, and they don't want to tango right now. So the western U.S. still just warm. I mean, nothing crazy one way or the other. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a wonderful start to your weekend. Also, almost forgot. Guys, I am asking for prayers. Asking for prayers from myself. So you guys know what's been going on with YouTube. Not going to get deep into it if you don't. But just asking for prayers for the YouTube system situation for people who know. If you don't know, then just consider it an unspoken prayer request. I will find out. Yeah, I think you guys, I'll kind of briefly go over it. The last 2 months, YouTube has just caused me issues with the revenue of my channel for September and October. So I will find out what my finalized revenue will be for November here in the next couple days, probably into early next week, and I'll see if they end up doing it again for 3 months in a row. If they do, it'll be the third month in a row. I've developed just a different viewpoint on all of it anyways, but of course it would be awesome if everything was back to normal with that situation. So just asking for prayers that situation gets worked out, and there's no more issues with my revenue of my channel anymore, because we do put in a lot of work here, and it takes a lot of time to do these videos. And I'm not sure why YouTube did what they did, but they did, and it is what it is. And at the end of the day, YouTube has given me the opportunity to meet all you guys, to pray for you guys. So this is an opportunity still given to me. And, life happens. People are going through much worse things. But I'm just asking for prayers over that situation. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.